Whenever I have the opportunity to put on tefillin with a fellow Jew, I try to do it. After all, to connect with a fellow Jew and to bring a mitzvah to them is a beautiful thing. In particular, tefillin, as the Rebbe's campaign came at a very difficult time for the Jewish people when several hostile nations around the land of Israel were speaking about the destruction of its people. The Rebbe came out with a campaign in 1967, right before the Six-Day War, put on tefillin with everybody. In particular, put on tefillin. Particularly, put on tefillin with the soldiers. And that will bring the light of God into this world and to tip the scales. And as we see, the great miracle that occurred, of course, the Six-Day War. But putting on tefillin with people, so I introduce something about themselves that they don't know, their very own soul. That their soul is made up of 10 components, 3 intellectual and 7 emotional. And it's the tefillin, the way Chabad puts on tefillin, we put 3 straps over here to make a shin, which is Chachma Bina V'das, Chabad, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. And then we put 7 straps over here, and as I elucidate the 7 emotions, kindness, discernment, beauty/compassion, endurance, humility, connectivity, and sovereignty, the 7 emotions. Got that? And as I say to people, I bet you didn't even know you had that inside of you. And everybody said, yeah, I never heard those words before. Folks, we need to know ourselves. We need to know what we're made up of. Because if you don't know yourself, then you can't master to be your true self. To be the Beinani that the Alter Rebbe is trying to provide for us in Tanya, the first part of Tanya, Sefer Shel Beinani, the book of the intermediate. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We're in chapter 3. Chapter 3 in one word is Esser, is 10. Why? Because the soul is made up of 10 components. In chapter 2, or rather chapter 1, in one word was neshamas, souls. We established that we have 2 souls. That's really important. Because then we will see that the 2 souls, when we understand about them, then we'll understand ourselves and we'll understand our purpose here and what we need to accomplish. And in chapter 2, then we went into chelik, that the second soul is literally a chelik, a part of God. Not a figurative sense of part of God, but literally a sense of part of God. And that's what it means that God blew into us a piece of him. Right? In Adam, he blew the breath of life. In animals, he didn't do that. In trees, he didn't do that. In Adam, he did. That's the divine spirit, the divine soul that we have. And what does that metaphor mean that he breathed into us? It means a part of God, meaning from the divine intelligence of God that's one with God. We have a piece of that in us that defines us, who we are, actually defines us who we are as Jewish people. As a matter of fact, we'll learn more about that in chapters 18 and 19. But for now, it means it's the core essence of the divine. In this chapter, chapter 3, we learn what is the makeup, what's the qualities of the soul. The essence of the soul, it's one with God. What are the qualities of the soul? It's 10. So the soul that we're talking about that's incorporated within us, 3 dimensions, nefesh, ruach, neshama. Those are 3 dimensions of the soul. They consist of 10 faculties. 10, why 10? Where does it come from? Because God has 10 faculties. God has 3 parts of intelligence, Chabad, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, and 7 emotions. So since we are created in the image of God, or even more so, a part of God in us, so what's that part? The soul that has 10 parts to it. They're subdivided into 2 categories. The 2 categories, interesting, called mothers and doubles. What's called mothers? Who's called a mother? Why? A mother means she has offspring. So what would be called a mother then? Intelligence. Because the whole point of intelligence is to have offspring. And what's the offspring? Emotions. Emotions. That you know about your God. So that should bring you to an emotion, a love towards God, a reverence towards God. That's why the 3 are called, as a generality, mothers. More specifically, Chachma is father and mother and Bina is mother, right? But generally speaking, all 3 of them, because they are to create an offspring. Very good. The 7 emotions, though, are called doubles. Why are they called doubles? Because there's an external part of the emotion and the internal part of the emotion. So, for example, act of kindness. What prompts you to do an act of kindness? The love that you feel inside for somebody prompts you to do an act of kindness. So there's a double idea when it comes to chesed in the soul, the kindness of the soul. It is love is the internal aspect, and the expression of that is the act of kindness. Gvura, right, which is refrain, holding back. Discernment, when you're discerning. Actually, yeah, no. Discernment, so you're holding back. Why are you holding back? Out of fear. Your fear of the consequence. You don't want to be disconnected. So you hold back, right? By not saying something, for example. So that's what doubles is. Okay. Now he goes into Chachma, we translate as wisdom, being understanding, and Das, knowledge. They're the mothers of the 7 doubles, right? As we explain them, Chesed, kindness, Gvura, severity, Tiferes, beauty, Netzach is endurance, Hod. I think I said humility. It's humility, it's splendor, it's acknowledgement, Yisoid foundation, which is connectivity, and Malchus royalty. By the way, parenthetically, why are there 7 emotions? Emotions is what leads you to connect with what? Another. Intelligence, you would not ever have to connect with another person. You could just sit with your intelligence and intellect the whole day. You don't have to have anybody else exist. Right? Does that make sense? Emotions means an emotion to someone. There has to be a someone to have an emotion towards. So that's the beginning of otherness. And that's why 7 emotions, 7 days of the week. Because the week, meaning the creation of God's creation is in 7 days because otherness begins with the divine emotions, just as it is in us too. Make sense? Okay. So as we said, Chabad, intellectual faculties are called mothers, the source of the midos that are the offspring, right? So brief explanation right now. What's a brief explanation? Chokhmah comes from the word koachma, the power of what? Meaning what is a potential. It is, koach means a potential, right? Any power. What's a power? I have power in my arm. What does that mean? I have a potential in my arm. I have a potential. I could use it. So chachma that we translate as wisdom is a poor translation. We just don't have a better word, maybe. It's a potential of intelligence. It's not really intelligence. It's the source of intelligence, but it itself is beyond intelligence, as we'll learn more about it. It's the seed. Like, when when you have a problem, like in Chumash Harashi, where you have a problem, all of a sudden, oh, Eureka, I got it. A flash comes into your head. That flash is not, it's the source of intelligence, but it's not really, you don't really get it then. You just got the inspiration of it then. You got that lightning bolt that came in your head. And you got a smile on your face because you kind of, but you don't have it totally. You just kind of see it, but it's not clear yet. Where is it clear? In Bina. When you bring it into Bina, Bina means understanding. When you take it and you elongate it from the seed, and that's why, by the way, it's male, Chochmah, and now Bina is female because it is now taking the breadth, the length, and the depth of the idea. What does length mean? As you see how this idea comes down into many, you know, so what I'm looking for, how, this idea that you're developing it stage by stage, chapter by chapter as you see it, right? Breadth is you see how touches so many different areas, this understanding that you have. And then depth is, of course, deeper and deeper, right? Where is it coming from, though? It's coming from the seed of the idea that's from Chachma. The flash that has, it's like the seed has the whole tree in it, but until you develop it, you don't have a tree. Same thing as the idea, the intuition, or the inspiration, or that flash has the whole thing there, but until you bring it into Bina and develop it, you have nothing. Yeah, in the father's seed, you have the whole child, but until it's in the womb of the mother for the 9 months, you don't have it developed. That's Bina to build. You're building it. And therefore, specifically, Chachma is father and Bina is mother. And what do? They give birth. What do they give birth to? The love and the reverence of God. Because we're talking about the divine soul over here, right? Divine soul means appreciating divinity. In tomorrow's class, we will go further into this to appreciate this. Any questions? Any comments? Is it clear? Chava is asking, when a human soul, so Chava, wonderful, you're here. When a human soul first aware of otherness, but that's in emotions. In intelligence, Intelligence doesn't need others. That's why when, cold, calculated intelligence, right? You won't be kind to somebody. If it's just cold, calculated,
Can we
right?
individually with someone and we bring joy to share with someone something's intellectual? So it brings emotion after
Yeah, it's got, if it doesn't lead to emotion, then it will be just cold and calculated, right?
Yeah, but it brings joy to share with someone
But
something.
that's an emotion. Share is an emotion. Yeah.
But it's starting with something.
Yeah, everything starts with how you perceive and understand. Yes, totally. But you, they're separate things, though. It's we live in a mishmash, so we don't recognize. That's why we're learning this. So we should know the difference between this and that. Because if you don't know yourself, then you can't be yourself. Then you're just living on autopilot and not being able to master yourself, right? That's why we are trying to take it apart, all of these things, so we can know the distinction between Chachma and Bina, the distinction between each thing, right? That's very important. Okay, so let me just continue with Chava's question over here. So yeah, it's first aware of otherness when it comes to emotions. Does it take place in the womb? Oh, okay. Upon the first breath of the body. Hmm. Good question. I'm not certain. I'm not certain exactly how to answer that question. When is the first awareness of otherness? You know, when the word awareness means intelligence, right? So in utero, child's not using their intelligence, but are they aware? Yeah, because they're totally bound up and to their mother, right? Okay, excellent. Okay, folks. Oh, Jeffrey, why do bad things happen to good people? Why do the righteous suffer? Excellent question, but we're not going to deal with that now because that's not what we're learning in Tanya, right? Excellent question, but not for the moment. More to come, folks. So just stay tuned, and we'll answer those questions in the